I rise to express the Green Group's strong disappointment, very strong disappointment, about the decisions that were made in the other place earlier today. We sent them constructive amendments that aimed to protect what the government themselves recognise as the most vulnerable people in society, to retain our close ties with the continent of Europe after we Brexit, to keep hard-won protections, and to recognise the established conventions of the power of the devolved institutions. We spent 5 days presenting powerful arguments for those amendments. I'm not intending to rehearse any of those arguments here. I want to present to this House 3 practical arguments for a way forward that may not be what this House is currently planning to take as the way forward. First of all, my first practical argument is an argument about the last 5 days. We have all worked very hard. We've presented the arguments, we've argued the case. As the noble lady opposite said, Lord Dubs has worked astonishingly hard and deserves the highest levels of credit. But we're looking potentially at the coming 5 years. I'm not one who believes that we're suddenly going to see an outbreak of stability in Britain that means we're going to see 5 years of stable government, but it's possible we will. And so I'd ask your Lordship's House to consider what it will be like if we spend 5 years working like we just have for the last 5 days and then get to this point again and again and again, not being listened to. Do we want to simply bow down and allow that to happen again and again and again? My second practical argument is that we are not here going against the Salisbury Convention. There is nothing here that reflects what was in the elections just held, the elections in which 44% of people voted for a Tory government. 56% of people did not vote for a Tory government. Now, my practical suggestions to your Lordships is not to be what might be described as recalcitrant, but to pick one of these amendments to say to the Commons, please, please, please listen to the powerful arguments, and please also think about the impact of your actions. And I am, of course, referring to the amendment that the noble Lord Dubs put forward. We could, on that one amendment, hold the line. And I'd ask you to think about what the impact of that might be. We're talking about what the government agrees is the most vulnerable children on the planet. Now, we know, as we've heard in the debates, that lots of those children have made their way to Britain through irregular, dangerous, sometimes deadly means. I went a couple of years ago to a memorial service to a young man who died in the back of a lorry, who had the right to come to Britain, felt he couldn't exercise that right and died as a result. Now, I'd ask your Lordships to think about the message us bowing down on the Dubs Amendment is going to send to children in Europe now, today. They need to know that there are people in Britain, in the Houses of Parliament, on their side. So I ask your Lordships to consider our way forward and consider standing up for those children.